This is the definitive Marvel Legends Gamerverse Juggernaut review.
I'm Tuggernaut.
And there is no other review you need to watch because here we're putting Hasbro's newest Juggernaut to the ultimate test. But what I found out might surprise you, especially if you already own the VAF, the 80th anniversary, or the Marvel Select versions. I'll recreate his Marvel vs. Capcom moves, the double punch, earthquake smash, and the head crush to see if the figure truly feels like Juggernaut we know in the games. Then we'll see how he fits with 112 scale Mafex, Jada toys, the 7-inch scale Marvel Select, and the rest of the Gamerverse lineup. By the end, you'll know whether this big bad boy deserves prime shelf real estate or if Hasbro missed the mark. Because the real question I have for Hasbro is this Juggernaut your best work or it's just your maximum offering? Now let's see if the new Marvel Legends Juggernaut can actually feel like Juggernaut, not just look like him. If you played the Marvel vs. Capcom game, you know it's all about his signature moves. Let's start simple, the iconic standing pose before the fight begins. Credit to Hasbro, they actually paid attention to the source material. In-game, Juggernaut's front toe bends slightly forward, and the toe articulation here makes that possible. You can recreate that stance almost perfectly, but the silhouette still isn't exact. The head sits a bit too high. The hands aren't as massive as the in-game model, and because of those single-jointed knees, he can't fully bend for stability. He needs an assist in order to do this. When you try a low pose, only the toe touches the ground, and since he's top-heavy, he starts to tip forward. Later, I accidentally discovered a way for this Juggernaut to closely resemble the game silhouette. Stay tuned for that. Starting the offense with an uppercut. This one looks great. The butterfly joints and toe bend make it clean and dynamic, the kind of uppercut that feels ripped right out of the game. Next is the overthrow. Thankfully, Juggernaut comes with two open palms. Not symmetrical though. The right hand has a grip sculpt more like he's holding a person, not a weapon, while the left is an open palm hand. To perform the overthrow, we'll use the right hand to grab another figure by the neck. And that's why the screaming head of Captain America works perfectly here. It's a tight grip though. You'll need to gently pry the fingers open to fit the neck. Could it crush your figure's neck like in real life? Maybe. So don't risk it. Just let this review do it for you. Next is the double punch. This is where the butterfly joints shine again. You can actually bring both arms forward and up to hit the iconic double punch stance. Not 100% perfect, but close. Spoiler alert, the Marvel Select Juggernaut can't pull this off. Limited shoulders, no wrist swivel, we'll talk about that soon. Now, something that the Gamerverse Juggernaut cannot pull off, Earthquake Punch. Now I doubt Hasbro prioritized in-game move recreation because most of Juggernaut's opponents are smaller than him, meaning he has to crouch low to connect the hit. That's where the single-jointed knees becomes a real limitation again. He can't crouch deep enough for that downward slam, and his weight tips him forward. In-game, Juggernaut's hand come together in a clasp position, like a prayer. The closest way to recreate that is by overlapping the left hand over the right fist. It works, but it'd be awesome if Hasbro included a special interlock hands accessory, something we actually seen from SH Figuarts Toji Fushiguro. Next is Juggernaut Punch. Another great movement for the butterfly joints. It takes a bit of balancing since he's top heavy. With some patience, you can really sell the motion. I used the clapping effects parts from the Maximum Series Hulk to exaggerate the swing. It also helps if you let his fist rest against a larger figure like the Maximum Series Hulk. A lot of cushion to keep him from falling forward. The next move is a tough one, the Juggernaut Body Press. No action figure stand I own can hold a 1 kilogram figure mid-air. So this move ends after the impact because, well, Juggernaut already crushed his opponent underneath. In the game, both hands are open, but this figure only comes with one true open palm hand. The other hand is a gripping hand. Still, it gets the job done. Now, the Juggernaut Head Crush. A brutal move, and one of the hardest to pose because of the weight of the figure. The butterfly joints help a ton, but the balance is tricky. You'll need to angle him forward in a charging motion. Still, Hasbro deserves credit here. With the right setup, the figure really conveys the aggression and power of that move. Plus, Hasbro included a tiny version of the effect to match that move. It's big but not big enough to match the game. The special move will come later after the VAP and 80 years Juggernaut comparison. Gamerverse Juggernaut is really massive because scale matters with a character like him. Here he is besides the 2025 Gamerverse Wave, Venom, War Machine, Captain America, Psylocke, the game-accurate Wolverine, Omega Red, Thanos, and Silver Samurai. And you can already tell he's towering over them. Missing here is Gargantos, which I will review in the next few days. Hasbro played it safe, but clearly this design's pulled from Marvel vs. Capcom roots. Cable from the Sabu Vilda figure wave, Marrow from the Nemesis Vilda figure wave, and the Vilda figure Blackheart, all of which fit the same Capcom-inspired aesthetic. Next beside my 112 scale Medicom Toy Mafex lineup, Storm, Gambit, Psylocke, Brown Suit Wolverine, Jean Grey, and Cyclops, all reviewed on the channel. Juggernaut still dominates the 112 scale scene, and since Mafex figures comes loaded with effects, let's see whether raining down those effects can stop the unstoppable Juggernaut. For a Marvel vs. Capcom display, here's Juggernaut standing next to Jada Toy Street Fighters, Blanka, Ken, Ryu, Chun-Li, Kami, Gal, Sagat, Dalsim, and M. Bison. And you can see how seamlessly he fits into those crossover setups. Now, does he also work for 7-inch scale figures? He still towers over most of them: Sabretooth, Psylocke, Rogue, Gambit, Magneto, and Apocalypse. If you don't own the Marvel Select Juggernaut, is this Gamerverse version a worthy stand-in for your 7-inch display? Well, let's find out soon. For the truly massive Marvel Select heavyweights in my collection, Abomination, the heaviest one, and the comic-styled Immortal Hulk or the Rampaging Hulk. And for a final comparison, here he is besides the Deadpool Legacy Collection, Colossus, because that's the matchup everyone expects. Later in this review, I'll line him up against a few other Colossus for a classic X-Men head-to-head size match. If you found this complete Gamerverse Juggernaut review helpful so far, I hope you give this review a hype, a like, subscribe to my channel, and please share this with your friends. So, size-wise, Hasbro nailed the imposing bulk. The real question is it a flawless victory for Hasbro versus Marvel Select? Let's find out in the head-to-head. On the right, the veteran Marvel Select Juggernaut. On the left, the new challenger, Hasbro Marvel Legends Gamerverse Juggernaut. Let's start with some quick stats because this part might surprise you. The Gamerverse Juggernaut is the heaviest Marvel Legends Juggernaut ever made, weighing in at just under 1 kilogram. But here's the twist. The Marvel Select Juggernaut, even though he's slightly shorter, he weighs more at 1.08 kilograms. So even though the Gamerverse looks bulkier, he's not actually heavier than the Marvel Select, which tells you a lot about the density and materials used by Diamond Select toys. And when we measure the chest width, which really defines how imposing a figure feels. The chest, the Gamerverse Juggernaut's chest spans roughly as tall as a 6.3-inch Marvel Legends figure. The chest number caught me off guard, but here's something even more interesting. The difference in articulation isn't as wide as you'd expect. Both have single-jointed elbows and knees, upper torso swivel, bicep swivel, and an ankle rocker. But the Gamerverse pulls ahead with butterfly joints, toe articulation, and interchangeable fist, giving it a huge advantage on paper. Now the question is, does that actually translate to better movement? Can this new figure outperform the Marvel Select Juggernaut? Let's find out. Here's a side-by-side comparison of both Juggernauts performing the same in-game moves. The uppercut, double punch, earthquake punch, Juggernaut punch, Juggernaut body press, the head crush hyper combo. The results? Genuinely surprising. The Select, despite being over a decade old, holds up shockingly well. You lose the toe bend, but you gain stability, and the wrist swivel, but his balance is rock solid. No stand, no assist needed. And that's the part that makes him timeless. His sculpt is still unmatched, that gritty paint wash, that layered armor texture, and the sheer visual weight gives him that unstoppable battle-worn look. Meanwhile, the Gamerverse version nails the game-accurate look. Clean lines, a little wash on certain muscle areas, but still looks too clean for collectors who prefer the grimy realism of the Juggernauts. So even though Hasbro's Articulation clearly wins, Marvel Select still commands presence. And here's my verdict so far. The Hasbro Gamerverse Juggernaut dominates articulation and engineering innovation. Marvel Select has that soul. Hasbro's version is a huge leap forward technically, but falls just a little short, really just a little, maybe tiny short, of being the definitive in-game Juggernaut because he can't quite execute every signature move perfectly. And that's the whole point of this review. Not just how good Juggernaut looks, but whether he can move like the Juggernaut we know from the Marvel vs. Capcom game. So who wins between these two heavyweights? Each has their own strength, but still there is no clear winner yet. Just yet. Stay tuned because I will rank them along with classic contenders. Now let's bring in the legends that defined Marvel Legends Juggernaut collecting before Gamerverse version came along. The 2016 Build-A-Figure Juggernaut from the classic X-Men wave. In his deep brown tones, this was the gold standard for years, the Juggernaut everyone used to size up their shelves. But articulation-wise, it's built like a tank, powerful but limited. No butterfly joints, no toe bend, no interchangeable fist. What it does have is raw shelf presence, a sculpt that screams 90s comic power, and a helmet design that still feels iconic. It's not smooth or shiny like its successors. It's rough, with dents and texture that looks like they've taken a beating from a few too many walls. Weight check, roughly half the weight of the Gamerverse and Marvel Select figures, yet still one of the densest Juggernauts Hasbro ever produced. And since this is a joyous special occasion, the arrival of a new Juggernaut, it's time to break open something I kept sealed for almost 6 years. Here it is, the Marvel 80th Anniversary Colossus vs. Juggernaut 2-pack. Currently worth around 100 USD on the aftermarket. Let's crack it open because this review needs to be the definitive Juggernaut comparison. The 80th Anniversary Juggernaut is essentially a repaint and a slight refinement of the VAF, with colors that resembles the Gamerverse palette and sharper paint details. You'd think the stats would be identical, but there are some small surprises. The VAF comes in slightly heavier at 0.51 kilograms, while the 80th sit at 0.5 kilograms. Chest width is identical since they share the same torso, but height differs. The 80th stands taller at 8.7 inches. It's probably because of the shape of the helmet. Now, talking about helmets, this is where the Gamerverse Juggernaut clearly wins. The BAF and the 80th Anniversary Juggernaut have helmets that sits a bit too high, creating a gap between the chest and the armor. In comics, the gap shouldn't exist. Juggernaut's helmet is meant to be locked tight against his armor. Meanwhile, Gamerverse nails it. The helmet fits flush and feels bolted down. The textured details on the Gamerverse Juggernaut lower torso are also a standout. While the VAF and the 80th Anniversary Juggernaut only have painted black lines, Gamerverse has fully sculpted grooves and textures, one of Hasbro's best recent sculpting efforts. Before filming, I even heated the joints just to avoid scratching the flawless sculpt during articulation tests. Since this is a Tuggernaut Collectables review, you'd naturally expect him to pick up some battle damage from the process, but this scratch right here on his knee, that is a classic fresh out of the box Hasbro factory scuff. As for articulation, Both VAF and the 80th anniversary use single-jointed elbows and knees with visible fins. The Gamerverse is fully finless, smoother in motion, and adds the butterfly joints that others desperately need. The VAF is the only one with a belt, while the VAF and the 80th feature an ab crunch instead of the Gamerverse upper torso swivel. And that differences in engineering matters because without butterfly joints, many of Juggernaut's in-game moves aren't worth recreating here, but they can still pull off a few signature poses. Remember that special move I mentioned earlier? This is where the VAF and the 80th anniversary shine together. Just like I recreated Omega Red's Omega Destroyer using 3 Omega Red figures, we're doing the same here for Juggernaut, a hyper combo Juggernaut head crush featuring all 3 versions side by side. Now putting them all together, you really see Hasbro's evolution. The Build-A-Figure Juggernaut captures raw comic book energy, thick, gritty, and nostalgic. The 80th anniversary refines that with better colors and faint definition. And the Gamerverse Juggernaut brings a new level of engineering and a size that really makes him feel worthy of the word unstoppable. My question to you though is, does the new Marvel Legends Gamerverse Juggernaut replace either of these two for your comic book figure shelf display? Is the Gamerverse too large? Or this is the Juggernaut we've all been waiting for? Let me know in the comments below. I personally like Juggernaut huge, just like the Hulk. Next, we're going off the books, the fan service round. Let's bring in the knockoff Juggernaut, not an official Marvel Legends figure, but still important for articulation comparison, plus a few hidden gems from older lines like ToyBiz Series 6, X-Men Classics, and the Legendverse Juggernaut. But first, let's answer one of the biggest collector's questions. Can the unmasked Cain Marko head from the 80th anniversary Juggernaut fit on the new Gamerverse body? The neck peg design between the 80th and Gamerverse is completely different, so the Cain Marko head doesn't snap in. It just sits loosely on top of the massive shoulders. And for those wondering, yes, I tried the unmasked head from the knockoff Juggernaut too. Same result. It just sits on top, not secure fit. Now here's another fun one. Can Juggernaut really clap? Or was that the Maximum Series Hulk? At this point, I'm confused, too many reviews on the channel. But what's cool is the Maximum Series Hulk energy effects actually work really well with the Gamerverse Juggernaut moves. The yellow thunder effect fits okay between his open palm hands. The yellow swish effect would be an awesome fit too, but our Gamerverse Juggernaut is too bulked up. You can't attach it to his wrists. However, those same effects do work on the smaller Hasbro Juggernauts if you want to recreate those power-up scenes. Just like an Easter egg, here is a surprising head swap. Using the old 80th anniversary head on the Gamerverse Juggernaut actually makes him look more accurate. The smaller head sits flush, doesn't stick out, and makes his shoulder and fist appear larger, giving us an almost perfect Marvel vs. Capcom silhouette. Definitely a fun trick if you want him to match the game look even closer. In this round, the helmeted head actually pegs in the Gamerverse body. If you want a bobblehead Juggernaut upon Coke Pop, you can use the Gamerverse head on the Build-A-Figure Juggernaut and the 80th anniversary Juggernaut. Just like the Build-A-Figure and the 80th anniversary Juggernaut, you can remove the straps that are attached around his arm. What I was not expecting is you can remove the straps around his closed fist hands. Now you can achieve a sleeveless Juggernaut. If the head swap and Kitbash is useful, hope you gave this review a hype, a like, and share this with your friends. For a quick Trinity Juggernaut size comparison and mini showcase, here are the Gamerverse Juggernaut, Marvel Select Juggernaut, and the Build-A-Figure Juggernaut standing next to the 15.75-inch Sentinels, and the massive 26.34-inch HasLab Sentinel. Now, moving on. For longtime viewers, you might remember I reviewed this knockoff Juggernaut way back in 2021. He's back for this definitive comparison, and surprisingly, he still earns a mention today. Unlike the Build-A-Figure and 80th anniversary version, this bootleg uses the 80th anniversary Hulk body, which means he has butterfly joints and double jointed knees. Basically, it's not Juggernaut stats, it's Hulk cosplaying as Juggernaut. The bootleg weighs 467 grams, making him lighter than both the Build-A-Figure and the 80th version. He stands around 8 inches tall, a little shorter than the official Hasbro Marvel Legends Juggernaut releases. Almost 5 years later, he's still holding up surprisingly well. Some minor paint chipping near the butterfly joints, the price of enduring the Tuggernaut process, but functionally still impressive. He's included here to answer the question I posed earlier in this review. If Hasbro gave Juggernaut double jointed knees, would that finally let him perform his Marvel vs. Capcom moves correctly? Let's find out. Standing pose. Actually not bad. The added knee bend gives him a more natural fighting stance. Though he still doesn't have a full Juggernaut silhouette, he's smaller and the bulk isn't quite there. Uppercut. This is where the double joints help. He can crouch lower, line up the punch more naturally, and hit shorter opponents with the right force. He's slightly shorter than the 80th Juggernaut, but posture-wise, definite improvement. Overthrow. Thanks to those butterfly joints and gripping hands, he can grab the screaming Gamerverse Captain America perfectly. And when we move to the Earthquake Smash, side by side with the 80th anniversary figure, the improvement is clear: a deeper bend, better reach, a more dynamic pose. Juggernaut Punch. Perfect to land on the Maximum Series Hulk. The range and extension here proves how much double joints could change the official Hasbro Juggernaut's articulation game. So despite of being fake, the KO Juggernaut still manages to claim a small victory, standing proudly beside the BAP, the 80th anniversary, in the classic victory pose. Proof that sometimes design decisions matter more than the license. The Legacy Juggernauts in my collection, a quick tour, a little Marvel Legends history lesson for longtime collectors. ToyBiz Marvel Legends Series 6 Juggernaut 2004. This one's a fan favorite, removable helmet, long arms that nearly touch the floor, and articulated fingers. Like the knockoff figure, it has double jointed knees, and while there's no formal butterfly joint, there's a hidden pivot under the armpit that works just like one. The torso movement is also unique, odd looking though. 2008 Spider-Man Classic Heroes Juggernaut. Another removable helmet version, but with single jointed elbows that barely reach 90 degrees or even 45 degrees. Still, it features double jointed knees, something modern Hasbro bulk figures don't always get. The small but mighty and unstoppable 2006 X-Men Classics 2 Juggernaut and the 2015 Marvel Infinite Series Colossus Juggernaut, all in 3.75-inch scale. Interestingly, like the Gamerverse, these older Hasbro figures have an upper torso swivel, which the VAP and the 80th anniversary does not have. And here's more irony. Even at the smaller scale, Hasbro gave these older figures double jointed knees. Meanwhile, newer Juggernauts are stuck with singles because Hasbro claims adding double jointed knees for bulky figures will only give a minimal improvement in articulation. Here's the thing, even now at present, they prove that they can add double jointed knees. Look at the 12-inch Marvel Legends Apocalypse, almost an oversized version of the retro Apocalypse. He has double jointed elbows and knees. So, it is absolutely possible that the Gamerverse Juggernaut get the same treatment, because it's an oversized version of the older Juggernauts. For Gamerverse Juggernaut, do we still think the lack of double jointed knees and elbows is a matter of engineering as Hasbro claims it to be? Or is it a matter of willingness that Hasbro does not want to give? Let me know in the comments below. So who is the real unstoppable Juggernaut? This is where things get ironic. If you watch my channel long enough, you know I'm all about the sculpted details and paint wash. And by logic, Marvel Select Juggernaut should still be number 1. It's the most realistic, most textured Juggernaut ever made. But after everything we tested in this review, the results surprised me. So let's count them down from number 8 all the way to number 1 to find the true Juggernaut King. At number 8, 3.75-inch Legendverse Juggernaut. It was cool for its scale, nostalgic for sure, but it stopped to compete with larger modern engineering and articulated figures out there. Number 7, the Spider-Man Classics Heroes Juggernaut from 2008. He is the slimmer Juggernaut, simple and stiff, but he earned points for keeping Juggernaut alive during the in-between years. Number 6, ToyBiz Series 6 Juggernaut from 2004. Wild proportion, long arms. That's what makes him so nostalgic because that's how he is sometimes drawn. It's a pure early 2000s charm. A reminder of where we started and honestly, still fun to pose. At number 5, 3.75-inch Colossus Juggernaut. Hasbro, if you're listening, please make a Marvel Legends 6-inch scaled version of this. It's an easy repaint. Come on Hasbro, it's a repaint and reuse. Something you can't resist, right? This figure is small but creative and fun. 2 of my favorite X-Men combined into one figure. Number 4, Build-A-Figure Juggernaut from the 2016 X-Men wave. A tank of a figure. He really looks like a tank. Strong nostalgia, solid sculpt, but lack in accessories. At number 3, 80th anniversary of Marvel Juggernaut 2-pack. Refined paint, extra accessories, and better colors put him above the Build-A-Figure. At number 2, dethrone from the top spot, the Marvel Select Juggernaut. Still my personal favorite for pure sculpt and paint wash. That gritty, armor texture, the realism, it still crushes most modern figures. But for the first time, another figure finally matched the presence and surpassed it in movement. At number 1, the new king, the Hasbro Marvel Legends Gamerverse Juggernaut. Combining engineering, articulation, and game-accurate proportions, dethrones the 7-inch scale Marvel Select Juggernaut. He is also the tallest, the largest Juggernaut that can fit your 6-inch scale and 7-inch scale shelf. And while not official, the knockoff Juggernaut deserves an honorable mention. If licensing wasn't an issue, he easily slides into the top 5 for articulation and play factor. So even though my heart says Marvel Select is top, my head and the facts from this review say Gamerverse Juggernaut is the new unstoppable king. But that's just my ranking. How about you? Which Juggernaut takes the top spot in your collection? Drop your list in the comments below. Let's see who my fellow collectors crown as the true unstoppable Juggernaut. If this review has proven anything, by now I assume you already have the Gamerverse Juggernaut in your collection. Your purchase is absolutely justified as shown in the comparison and the recreation of the in-game moves. The Marvel Legends Gamerverse Juggernaut is truly unstoppable, and I hope nothing is stopping you from checking out my Gamerverse playlist on the top right corner of your screen. Just like what I did in this Juggernaut review, I recreated the Marvel vs. Capcom poses. You already made a smart decision to grab this figure. Now, your fellow collectors deserves to see the definitive take. The Juggernaut review that confirms their purchase, dives into the history, and answers every question those quick and early reviews miss. So let's affirm that decision. If you enjoyed the quality of this review, please give it a like, share it with your fellow collectors, hit that hype button, and subscribe to see more definitive comparisons. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. The Tuggernaut Collectables online shop and YouTube channel is over 5 years old by now. We've come a long way since 2020. So thank you for your support and watching the videos, and for our Australian customers supporting our shop. Cheers!